Joining us on Facebook, welcome. We'll keep an eye on the chat in case there's anyone. I feel like it's going to be a small, intimate group today because it's the end of the year. It's busy, but we wanted to host one last town hall before everyone heads off for winter break on just wrapping up 2023 and just wanted to have a little Montessori leadership open forum. Um, if no one else joins the call, like that's maybe we can wrap this up early, but I just wanted to wish everyone, a good new year. Here we have someone else joining. Hello. I'll give a couple more seconds for people to join in on the call. As today is an open forum, feel free to unmute yourself at any point, or you can utilize the chat as well, because I know some of you guys are really busy in the office, and if it's if it's easier for you guys to use the chat, feel free to. Yeah, so just put a couple of conversation starters for wrapping up 2023 and just going over the year, because I think it's nice to have a space for Montessori school leaders to come together and discuss the lessons that they learned, anything that they've been able to achieve during this year, as well as, starting to lay out the groundwork for future achievements and goals in the coming new year. So thank you everyone for joining. Before we start, I'd love for everyone who's joined to just introduce themselves in the chat. And thank you for people who've joined our previous town halls throughout the year. It's been a great year of discussion. We've talked about all different types of topics this year. We've had different types of speakers. And I hope that everyone has benefited from our Montessori leadership town halls. So yeah, if you can either share in the chat, what school are you joining us from and what's your role there, if you're an administrator or if you're part of the office team or if you're an educator, you can let us know in the chat. Well, I see Margot King. She's you've been here before, Margot. You've been at our town halls before, and I see Sawyer. And then if there's anyone else joining in our Facebook group, welcome. Um, let's kick off our wrapping up of 2023 with student achievements. I see here Margot. Hi, Margot from Montessori International. I wanted to start off with just asking questions about student achievements. If anyone wants to share, have there been any innovative, effective teaching methods that have contributed to student success at your school this year? I know every year can bring new challenges, new parenting styles on board, and also new guides. So have there been any changes when it comes to that? Have there been any standout student stories at your school? Or have there been any inspiring alumni stories for students you've had years past? Feel free to share in the chat. This is just to wrap up our experiences this year. Nope. Sorry, skipping ahead. First relatively normal year after COVID. It certainly feels like, yeah, the COVID is in the past and we don't have to worry so much about all of the restrictions, and it's definitely feels like things are back to normal in that sense. Absolutely. That's made life a lot easier. When it comes to teacher and staff contributions, I think this is a big thing because staffing has been a big challenge for schools. So doing a lot to make our staff feel special in our communities. How have you recognized your staff this year? What professional development opportunities have you provided for your staff this year, whether that's formal training or maybe just more support from you as school administrator? And how have you, as a school administrator, further supported and empowered your teaching staff this year? We had a meeting about this earlier in the year, and some people do different sorts of appreciation for their staff. Some just offer more flexible working if that's possible, more PTO. That's been a big thing, a big trend.
Camille, more PTO in what sense?
Some schools I've done things like offering mental health days
Okay,
for staff, so just to avoid burnout. This was specifically an issue during COVID. I think
right.
things have gotten a little bit easier as the years have gone by since COVID. Um, or just offering some schools are moving to like a 4-day model. Obviously, that's not viable for every school because parents need childcare and they need to drop their kids off if they're working. But some schools, usually if the public school district is switching to a 4-day model, they'll see if they can do that as well. This is of
Wow.
course only viable in certain areas. But things like that have helped with recruiting staff. So that's been a game changer as well. Um, have you done anything to improve overall workplace culture in your Montessori community as well? Like, what have you done this year as a school leader administrator to cultivate a healthy working environment?
We've always been fairly good about it. I think this year we've been more conscious that the teachers perhaps are a little bit needier than we initially had thought. Um, but we tried to do staff lunches, and we celebrate everybody's birthday. There's a holiday luncheon tomorrow that the PTO is doing for us. But we're seeing probably the after effects now of COVID almost more than during COVID in terms of teacher tiredness.
Right. The burnout, it's like
Yep.
that's lasting. Yes, absolutely. I think also just work in general has changed in so many different industries with flexibility that we're not granted the same liberties as teachers. We have to be there in person. That's part of our model as Montessorians. And it's tricky. We can't offer work from home. So we have to find other ways to help with their burnout that isn't, necessarily flexible working.
Well, the advantage of being in development and administration, even though I'm home with COVID for the third time, um, you can work from home. You can do stuff.
True. Yeah, absolutely. As an administrator,
Yep.
there are more flexible, um, there's more ways for you to work from home rather than go in person. But yeah, the staff burnout for teachers is real. Like I mentioned, some schools are doing the mental health days. Also, a big thing is having just substitutes readily available, or alternates that you can put in because that way, if a teacher does call out, you have, a list of people you can contact. That's been really helpful with schools who have tried to improve staff retention. We had a couple of meetings. We've had probably 2 or 3 meetings this past year about staffing and staff retention because that's been a big thing post-COVID because there has been burnout. So you're definitely not alone, Margot.
Oh, I know. And the problem is finding good substitutes, at
Oh,
least in our
absolutely.
area, in the greater Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. Substitutes are almost non-existent.
Mhm.
So,
Absolutely. No, you're definitely not alone. And when
uh,
it comes to recruiting staff or anything, just finding the right people, it's a challenge. Absolutely. Especially in rural areas. Yeah.
Hey, I just wanted to interrupt and welcome Kathy to the call. I know, it's nice to see you. Um, I know you wanted to talk about your program a little bit. Is that right? I think I saw an email about that.
Get unmuted here. Yes, thank you so much. You know, a long number of years ago when you were first launching, I came on to share that we were starting our nonprofit Whole School Leadership Institute, and we had a great conversation, and I've followed you ever since, mostly because you also send a follow-up email with the recording. So it makes it's so wonderful that you do that. It makes it possible to continue to keep up. And I so value what you're doing. To just piggyback on what Marjo is saying, we are seeing all over the world, actually, that our Montessori school leaders are just experiencing the huge boomerang effect of post-COVID, to the point where now the trauma is truly showing up and we can't underestimate it. And what's so interesting is that our organization went on Zoom into April 2020, like everybody else, and it went worldwide. And so we are working with Montessori leaders all around the globe and finding identically that they are experiencing all the same things.
Yeah.
Teachers leaving, shortages, parents who are just extremely reactive, all of those kinds of things. And I think it's a worldwide phenomena. But what I wanted to tell you is that in January 9th, we are starting a new cohort of our Montessori leadership course. And anybody that you ever talk to about it, it's life-changing. And it is run in 6 modules that are spread over 2 years, so that there's a big gap in between each module. And module 1 is starting in January. I'll put in the chat our website. And if you go to the website, it pops up right away to register and to learn about it. Module 1 is the whole course itself deals with the adults. We have Montessori covered for the child in beautiful ways, but our struggle often is with our adults, and that is our workplace staff and our parent community. And so the focus of the course is really new ways to work with our adults on our staff and in our parent community. And module 1 is kind of a foundation of all that. It also includes the fact that there are now beautiful research stages from where Montessori left off, that identify the planes of adult development. So we learn about working with adults from a developmental point of view. And so I hope that you will go and take a look at our course at our website. And the website is www.wholeschoolleadership.org. Thank you for letting me share that, and I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you, Kathy.
I know my mentor, head of school, Kari Headington, I think just finished.
Yes.
And she raved about it. She just said it's just invaluable.
Yeah, and Kari's fabulous, and it was so wonderful to have her in the course. Yes.
She's a good friend. So.
Kathy, also, I'll email you after the town hall, but feel free to share the information as well in our Facebook group.
Okay, I'll do that.
So we have a Montessori Thrive Facebook group, so you can share the link on there, and hopefully anyone who's looking for something like that.
Thanks.
I mean, speaking of adults, next topic of discussion is parental engagement. This is something that we've had several conversations on throughout our town halls this year, because it has been a struggle. Every generation of parents brings different challenges and opportunities, different cultures and ways that they want to bring up their children. And as a school, it's our job to work together in partnership with parents and families in our communities. So I wanted to just do a little bit of discussion on parental engagement in your schools. What are your challenges when it comes to communicating with parents in your community? How was the level of parental involvement in school activities coming out after COVID? Are you dealing with a lot of parent anxiety in your community? Is this something you're seeing a lot of in your school? Yeah, what was your experience this year with families?
We were hoping we'd have a few more on this call, so
Quiet.
I think just putting Margot on the spot every time.
Well, I can just share from our past town halls. It seems that there is a challenge with getting parents to sometimes come to parenting events. That's been a big thing. Um, a lot of parents are not quite comfortable with leaving their kids with babysitters. This could be after COVID. This could just be, these are kids that isolated with their families for 2 years. So offering solutions for childcare has helped a lot of the schools with parents coming to parenting events, things like collaborative planning. A lot of times now you have to really involve parents in the planning of parenting events for them to come. So sending out surveys, asking what topics they're interested in, has helped. Um, Things like this, and yeah, just keeping communication open, posting on social media, reaching out via email, newsletter, SMS reminders. Sometimes we try so many methods of communication and we still don't get through to parents,
Mhm.
but it's good to try as many as possible.
I have a suggestion, just thinking
Sure.
back to when I was running our school in Washington, DC, since Margot is in DC. People were often dropping their children off and running to the metro to get downtown. And we put up a big coffee area in the lobby. And then once once a week for a series of weeks, we would run a program called Nurturing Your Child's Emotional Health. And they'd grab a cup of coffee and come sit down for 30 minutes and then race off to work. It brought together people in just an emotional way that was really soothing to them. And we helped them with parenting tips and things like that. We had a whole program. So just putting that out there, that sometimes these strange times of day can be a help.
And that makes complete sense to do it in the morning because sometimes it's the evenings that are challenging because that interferes with bedtime routines and dinner routines and routines are important in the family. So absolutely. This is why one of our conversations was collaborative planning. See what times are more convenient. Do a poll. If you're really struggling to get parents to show up, maybe you'll find out that the evenings is the worst time for them to come to an event. So it can help to figure out maybe sometimes those weird times that you think might not work are actually the best times for connectivity. So absolutely. All right, curriculum and classroom innovation. This is maybe not so much with administration, but did anyone here start a new program at their school this year, integrated any new technology in your learning environments? I know usually in Montessori, we're pretty old school with our classroom environments and the materials we put in them. Maybe this is more so for those who have adolescent programs. Um, or have you made any program updates or changes in your community? Um, I'd love to host a town hall in the future and let me know if you're interested, whether you're watching the recording of this, you can comment on our YouTube comments, or if you're watching this live. Um, is a town hall on building new programs in Montessori something that would interest you? We'd love to have a school leader who successfully started a new, whether it be maybe they started an elementary program or an adolescent program in their community due to popular request from parents and how they were able to do that. If that's something that would interest you, either comment in the recording or let us know because I'd love to host a town hall on that in the future. All right. Community outreach and partnerships. Have you done any community outreach programs or established any new partnerships during this year? This can be with any type of organization. One that I think a lot of schools should look into, and we had a conversation, we've had this conversation a couple of times in our town halls when it comes to Montessori awareness, is creating partnerships with other schools in your area to recruit just future people into the Montessori space. Is this something that you've done at your school, communicated with fellow colleges or high schools in your area? Because there's a lot of possible partnerships to get people introduced to Montessori as a career. So that's, I'd be curious to see if anyone on the call has any experience with that. Have you taken any new opportunities for expanding your community engagement at your Montessori school this year that have been positive? Or have you fostered any helpful relationships with organizations or other schools in your area?
We've reached out to the local colleges and have, in the process of setting up a series of, meets, luncheons, coffees, whatever, with possible with education students who may not know about Montessori or may know about it, just to sort of make the case and hopefully maybe find somebody who would like to substitute and or come into the school and we could train them.
Absolutely. And that's, because so many people, I remember in my, because I went to public high school, I was a Montessori kid, and then I went to public high school, they would have career fairs and just to have up a booth and be like, hey, you can come and volunteer and see what it's about. This is, you don't have to go into public education. There's other paths you can take. And introducing that's how you can recruit future Montessorians and hopefully prevent this staff shortage from lasting too far into the future.
Well, since it cuts across almost every industry, I'm not sure that we'll catch up anytime soon. It's very uneasy, shall we say.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's challenging, but absolutely trying to make those partnerships. That's helpful. See if you can offer any type of volunteer opportunities. There's I know in high schools across the US they have Key Club. Where students can get a lot of school credit, or it looks good on their application if they volunteer at different organizations locally. So maybe if you have any sort of opportunities for students who are a little bit older, just to come and volunteer and they can peek into the classrooms and see, and things like that too, that aren't necessarily always recruiting focused, can kind of introduce people into the world of Montessori, and maybe they have a really good experience volunteering, and then they're more interested in saying, oh, maybe are there any job opportunities for me in the future here? What is it? Maybe they start off as an assistant after they graduate, and they can work their way up if they're interested in a future career in Montessori. But yes.
One of the things that we did was just we reached out to, there's a college nearby that has early childhood ed, programs, and we would get their students needed to do, part of the requirement was, I can't remember the length of time, it was maybe 2 weeks or something that they had to spend in a specific type of school. And so they would come in and just kind of, be observe in the classrooms, but sometimes they would help out a little bit too. But that was also a great way to really show them, what Montessori was about. And so that's an option too. It's not really, it's kind of a long-term, effort, something that an investment that might pay off down the line when you get more young people who are college age and already considering a career in early childhood education and maybe just don't really know what Montessori is yet. And to give them that experience, I think is really, really helpful.
Absolutely. Also, some schools, what they do is they'll offer up their school as a community space for different clubs. And just even offering up your space, and this can be after hours, it'll pique people's interest about what your school's about. And this can be a great way to, I don't know, recruit future volunteers or people who just, it's a great way to establish yourself more as a pillar of your community and open it up to people who might not have stepped foot in your school before, but now they feel more comfortable and they can learn a little bit more about Montessori. So there are many ways. Again, if you're watching the recording, if you have any type of suggestions for this or anything that you've experienced, please feel free to comment. We love to see how community outreach and partnerships have helped your Montessori school this year. All right, this is the more tricky part to discuss, is lessons learned and challenges. What was probably the the biggest challenge you faced during this year as a school leader or in the Montessori space? Sounds like it might have been staffing or maybe just um, coming out of that COVID burnout. And then yeah, if you were able to overcome any of these challenges when it came to school leadership. It seems that we really struggled with COVID, and then after that, it was staffing that was the biggest challenge. Because I remember in 2020, 2021, we had so many town halls about how to mitigate everything with COVID, and then that quickly shifted to staffing and hiring substitutes and full-time employees and trained guides. That was the next hurdle in the leadership space. All right, student and teacher well-being. I guess this really rolls off of COVID as well. When it comes to mental health and just making sure that your staff and your students are doing well in your community. What initiatives have you taken to prioritize well-being in your school? Have you offered things like mental health days? Do you have, a check-in policy with your staff? Do you have anything special that you do during your staff meetings to check in with people?
Something at my school right before we left, we sat down as an administrator team and we reworked our whole school calendar and built in some more PD days for our staff more frequently, just to give them more days off, that it didn't conflict too much with our parents, because we knew we had a lot of working parents. So we still offered childcare during those days from our assistants, but our trained guides actually got a couple more days off in that time, and just by spreading those out. So we couldn't offer those mental health days because we didn't have substitutes, but we could rework our schedule that way.
Yeah. What about when it comes to parents? See, bye, Margot. I guess we'll wrap up if Margot's heading out. Or before we wrap up, I just wanted to make I'll go ahead and ask this in case anyone's watching the recording. If there's any future town hall topics you'd love to see this year, please comment or let me know. I'll include my email in the video description when I post this on YouTube later. If you have any particular topics you'd love to see in the new year for our town halls, please let us know. Oh, we have some more. We still have people on here. I wasn't sure. It's such a small, intimate group today. If there's any future town halls you'd love to see, please let us know. Things like parent communication, retention, whether that's with staff or students, Montessori marketing, conflict resolution, fundraising, and also if there's anyone in the leadership space that you'd like to hear from, we're happy to, reach out to, thought leaders in the Montessori space and see if they're willing to share their time with us, or if you yourself as a school leader would love to come in and share your expertise and experience at a future town hall. These are very open, so we welcome anyone who has advice to share with school leaders to come in and hop on a call and lead a future town hall. Again, we're also hosting our Montessori Thrive Parenting Series come February of next year. So if you're a Montessori Thrive member and you want to see a particular parenting topic at this series, please let me know. I also posted in our Facebook group a question on this. So if you have any suggestions, again, we plan these around your requests. So if there's things like Montessori at home, tantrums and conflicts, positive discipline, Montessori principles, or planes of development that you'd like your parents to learn more about or they're requesting, we can plan those in our February series for you. So let us know in the comments of this recording, or if you are in our Montessori Thrive Facebook group, you can also let us know there. Yeah, before we wrap up, I just love if everyone in the chat could just share their biggest takeaway when it comes to school leadership from this year. What was your biggest lesson learned?
I would offer compassion.
Absolutely. Yep.
I think this is the hardest job there is right now in the world.
Absolutely. It's challenging, and it's been challenging post-COVID, I think even more than it has in past
Yeah.
years.
And then all the wars. There's so
Absolutely.
much suffering and pain out there. It requires us to be compassionate and peaceful in our own beings so we can be there for other people.
Perhaps focusing on building a safe community that everyone feels welcome in.
Yes.
Absolutely. All right. Well, it was, an intimate meeting, as usually our final town hall meeting of the year is. But we'll be back on January 4th with future town halls, and we'll be meeting every single Thursday throughout the school year. Again, please let us know if there's any topics you'd like us to discuss or bring up at a future town hall. We plan these very much around you. We have some great topics already scheduled for the new year. We'll be hopefully hosting a town hall on social emotional learning, which I think will hopefully help with communicating with families and supporting students. That plays hugely into mental health and social skills. We'll also be having a town hall hopefully on diversity and inclusion in the Montessori space. Again, building those healthy and welcoming communities is important. If there's any other topics that you'd like to learn more about, you can always reach out to me. I'll drop my email in the chat, and I'll comment it as well if you're watching the recording. But before we wrap up, I wanted to just give a special thank you, as this is our last town hall meeting of the year, to Camille Campbell. She was our executive director at Nido Marketing and has done really so much for this company and made it what it is today. So congratulations on her retirement. She'll be finishing up at the end of the year. So this will be her last town hall as executive director. So thank you so much, Camille, for really being a driving force behind Nido Marketing, also for building Montessori Thrive into the thriving community and resource exchange that it is today for so many school administrators. And yeah, she'll, hopefully Camille we'll have her here at Nido Marketing as an advisor, but hopefully she'll take a step back and enjoy this new chapter of her life, traveling and enjoying the freedom of retirement.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a great experience, and I just love the whole Montessori community. It's such a nice place to work in and support, and yeah, so it's bittersweet, but it's, I'm excited for the future, and I'm sure I'll always be sort of along in the periphery anyway of Nido Marketing and the Montessori community. So thank you. And Elizabeth, everyone's in great hands with Elizabeth here, so she will lead on.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We're excited to have Elizabeth on the team. And yeah, we'll be, picking up with our regular town halls, hosted by myself and Elizabeth in the coming year. So we look forward to continuing these conversations and hopefully offering support. And again, if there's any resources that you need, we'll be available throughout the winter break. So if you need anything from Thrive, or if you want to use our forum or ask questions in our Montessori Thrive Facebook group, we'll still be around to offer support. But I do hope you take some time to enjoy with your families and welcome in a new year. And yeah, we'll be our first town hall in the new year is just going to be to come together and discuss goals and yep, laying up the groundwork for having a successful 2024. So we look forward to a good conversation there. And we'll be back on January 4th. I'll stop sharing my screen and I'll drop my email here in the chat. So if you have any questions, requests, when it comes to resources or future town halls or the parenting series, please let me know. All right, we'll wrap up early because it's such an intimate group. I know this is like winter festivity time at Montessori schools, but thank you so much for everyone for joining. And thank you, Kathy, for sharing that information about your organization. And again, I'll email you after this so that you can
All
share it
right.
in our Facebook group.
Wonderful. It was great to be here.
All right, everyone, take care and have a great rest of your Thursday.
Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.